Hello everyone, so it's been a while since I've done a Python jobs video, so here we go. It is June 2023. It won't just be Python, so if you want to see me searching for some jobs around the UK and looking at salaries and discussing them, this might be of interest. So the first thing I was thinking about was what are the new job titles that might be, just cropping up now that oh, can't even spell OpenAI. That's a good start. So there we go. My computer seems to be going a bit slow. So sorry about that. Right, what have we got? I'm searching on total jobs, Bristol area, 10 miles. And we've got developer, Django, software developer. Right, I normally choose work from home. That seems to have waned slightly in the UK. Obviously, there's just this gradual return to the office, and I think employers are kind of reluctant to do fully work from home. They want people to be hybrid, I think is the new phrase that's used. So, software developer, these salaries aren't looking too good, are they? 33 to 38,000. No, we don't want to look at that. So, Django, 45 to 50, flexible working. Mobile, lead, web, Django, full stack, senior. Let's have a look at this one. And it's in Bristol, which is in the south of England. Tech for good. React, TypeScript, MySQL, Node, blah, blah, blah. Salary up to 85,000 DOE. That's dependent on experience. Okay. Now I've looked at that, it's given me search similarity on how that works. Python data engineer, that's in France. Just for lols, let's have a look at that. A hedge fund searching for a Python data engineer. If you don't know what a hedge fund is, it's an investment organization which is fairly secretive, so they don't have to disclose and make public their investments in quite the same way as a security such as unit trust or investment trust would have to. It's kind of higher risk, higher return, as I understand it. Polyglot developer with strong emphasis on Python and familiarity with C# is an added advantage, which kind of, with my bias against Microsoft products, that's it's no good for me. But if it's of interest, go work in France. Quantitative data developer, C#, C++, NLP. Right. Enough of this nonsense. Let's put in Python. We'll put in developer because otherwise you end up getting kind of full stack, jack of all trade kind of jobs. So let's see what we get. Let's just look at the salaries to start with. So I think now the salaries have probably crept up a little bit. I think maybe kind of they were typically, I don't know. Wouldn't like to say they've really shot up. 35 to 40 still, 45 to 60, 65 to 70, 55 to 70. Maybe they've crept up, whereas maybe a year ago it was kind of 45 to 60 quite frequently. Django, SQL, Python developer hype. That's 38 days ago. That's expired. So let's look at this one. Top results: rapidly growing Python, FastAPI, RESTful SQL, data visualization. A rapidly growing e-commerce fulfillment business is expanding and looking to bring on a Python developer to help develop the next generation of their products. Their software offering easily integrates with popular e-commerce platforms to provide fast and efficient order systems. They're a people-first business, always open to new ideas, and you'll get the chance to work in a collaborative environment with full autonomy and the chance to own projects from day one. They're located in central Bristol, and you can work from home twice per week. Python, FastAPI, SQL, data visualization, API development. So I was looking at my recent project, findthatbit.com. I wanted to actually write an API in Rust, because if you've ever seen the comparisons, an API written in Rust is about, I think it's 60 times faster than Python, and obviously it's it supports multi-threading natively, and yeah. The problem was that I had all sorts of issues with, I think it was libtorch. I spent a couple of hours on it, but I gave up in the end. But yeah, obviously FastAPI is so well documented and easy to use. I was using that earlier, by the way, so I might get onto that in due course. See how it goes. Right, that's 45 to 60. That's the same job. This is the problem you have when you look at... I don't know why that's twice. It's just identical, isn't it? Yeah, probably the same. That's senior Python developer. Let's just check. That's different postcode, so presumably it's a different job. Trust Payments have an exciting opportunity for a senior Python developer to join their team. Make it really zoomed in. Payment technology. Yeah, well, Lightning and Bitcoin's going to blow you lot out of the water soon, so. Watch Jack Mallers on YouTube if you've not watched him before. Strike. Clean and healthy structured code, design, architect, develop software solutions that align with business requirements. Yes, security. It's probably not the job for a lone wolf coder, if that's what you consider yourself to be. Familiarity with AWS, GitLab. What do you think of GitLab versus GitHub? I've got a bit of a downer on GitHub, really, because I just think they're harvesting all our code to make us all redundant one day. That's being slightly facetious there, but yeah, who uses GitLab? It's not enormous difference, but I tried to do some actions with GitLab and I ran into sort of problems. Actions with GitHub definitely easier out of the box, I would say. SQL, ML ops, machine learning ops, so you will be kind of mashing up data for a transformer model. Fully remote, posted 10 days ago. Let's have a look at that. This is so I've got, it's got a bit of a car theme going on today. So my Ford Cortina t-shirt and my Boy Racer mug. $60,000 to $65,000, software engineer Python. A company leading the way with innovative solutions for the modern workplace. What does that even mean? Just word salad, isn't it? I'm sorry, I'm being really cynical today, so apologies. Embedded products based on Linux. That's okay. Things are looking up. Integration, carry out unit integration and system testing. So if you don't know the difference between unit testing and integration testing, unit testing is actually testing the kind of like the module of the code you've written. Integration testing is testing that your code works with the next bit of code. Familiarity with technologies such as XML, SQL, web services, networking, knowledge or experience of Kotlin or Java, understanding of embedded server, cloud model, blah, blah, blah. There we go. So that's senior machine learning engineer. Wow, that's a lot of zeros. Is that 100 done? Yeah, I thought they'd got an extra zero. I thought it crept up to 1 million. UK, Europe. We are looking to recruit experienced lead Python machine learning and AI engineering, ML experience, frameworks, TensorFlow, PyTorch, AI, ML visualization, wealth of experience using Python, travel, EU, blah, 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 graphics, geometry. Okay. Well, that's quite a lot of money. That's actually not geographically specific to this area. That's just UK. Look, I think when you search on 10 miles or plus radius, or 10 miles, I think it was at 10 miles of Bristol I was searching. Yeah, 10 miles. And then before long, it just keeps. Oh yeah, outside your location. Okay, so we're just looking around the UK now. AWS, blah, blah, blah. I think if you write code, you don't really want to be kind of having to fill your head with loads of AWS cloud stuff. Obviously, you need to just know enough, but you don't really want to fill your head with a load of vendor-specific knowledge. That's just filling up space in your brain that should be best saved for all things. So let's look at this one. Python developer, remote work, 65 to 70,000, London South East. The role involves, here we go, collaborating with cross-functional teams to design, develop and implement robust and scalable applications for our clients. I've got a really bad habit of wanting to distill sentences down to. Why don't you just? You could just say write good code. HTML, JavaScript, CSS, Postgres, yeah, whatever. Yeah, so that's okay. Strong problem. Yeah. I think going forward, I'm hoping this will just become less and less because, especially in the UK now, the university system has just become a money-making business. And I don't think that's me being kind of too out there. You can spend 9,000 a year on fees, and you actually get very few hours. And yeah, I know anecdotally from first-hand speaking to students. DevOps, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, React, Angular, Vue. Yeah, I did try Vue, but all these frameworks, it's just another. It's almost like you could be a professional. You almost need to be a professional at a framework. And then what if that framework kind of gets superseded by a rival framework? Senior data engineer, 27% pension. WT. Senior data engineer at DVLA. So this is in Swansea in the UK, and I don't know if any UK people send off their driving license to get it changed or updated. I know because of COVID and everything, there was just months and months. It was all over the newspapers, going on strike, backlogs, delays, blah blah blah. 27% pension. That is, yeah, amazing. Here we go. SQL, Python, version control, pipelines, one or more data modeling techniques, Medallion, 3NF, Data Vault, dimensional models. Okay. Let's see if there are any comedy benefits. Not really. I was hoping they were going to say they had kind of five-a-side foot. What's it called? The table football or something. More jobs, data scientist, architect, senior data engineer. We'll just quickly look at this one. Python, ETL, GCP, DWH. So common themes, Python, SQL. Pretty much if you want to be a Python professional, you really need to be quite decent at SQL. Data engineer. So it's engineer crops up way more than developer. Right, let's just get onto this one, and let's just put in open. Actually, we shouldn't put open AI. Let's just put AI. It's the start of air conditioning. If you ever find you've got a whole load of air conditioning job offers, it's because you didn't type AI properly. Rust engineer, AI engineer. If you just excuse me, I'm just going to look at these because this is. I wonder if that's for. That would be. I wonder if that's for Qdrant. If you can see that, if you can read the small writing at the top, I've actually got Qdrant open. I've used Qdrant vector database for my recent findthatbit.com project. Transform beyond. So this is what my current thoughts are. Everyone's excited about ChatGPT, but that's really the tip of the iceberg. So you don't have to use a chatbot. If you can do similarity search, well, there's so many different fields, and yeah, chatbot is just a really small a part of that. Yeah, Rust. So if you've not seen my other channel, Rust 360, go and check it out. Rust is not easy, but there are aspects of Rust which are a joy to work with compared to Python. But once you start getting into once you start getting to threads, multi-threading and stuff, it does start to make your brain hurt. And some of the syntax is not quite as simple as Python, should we say. AI lecturer. So I thought the whole point of going to university was so you first launched, so it's like an online academy, is it? So partnered with Code Institute and Amazon. What was the salary? £70 per hour, 12 weeks, work from home. National Framework of Qualifications. I'm thinking that's some sort of like sixth form or just above, maybe. I don't know. Previous experience of teaching online, having made learning interactive by creating videos. Shall I apply? Yeah. The courses are generally around 36 hours, delivered on evenings, Monday to Thursday, 1 day a week. Each lesson lasts 3 hours. Wow. So 3 hours, that's £210 a week for doing 3 hours work. Rust, AI. So I'm scrolling. I will stop. We will. Let's have a look at this AI. Oh, an intern. An intern's like if you don't know, an intern is like a student when they spend their 3 month summer break working for a company and getting some sort of commercial experience. What AI? So they don't specify the language. Build and train production-grade algorithms to uncover patterns from complex data. (2,100 sites, shopping centres, hospitals, residential developments). Is that some sort of building information system stuff? Here we go. Proficiency in Python, including PyTorch. Model-based design. The old model view controller. Knowledge of machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, and computer vision algorithms. So, yeah, I guess I don't say. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be an expert at natural language processing, you're probably not going to be an expert at computer vision. Degree or PhD in related field with mathematical focus and programming expertise. So that was quite a low salary for what they were asking for. Ethics. Machine learning trainer. So I'm sensing. So I think the upshot of today's video is that. Actually, is that Is that training the machine learning, or is that training the staff? Oh, skills gaps. Yes, I think that is the training. So it's training humans, not training. Wow, 100,000. So it's previous training experience. So yeah, I think the kind of theme for today's video is that training especially in AI machine learning is kind of a growing area. Yeah, and I guess good old Python and SQL is still really, really popular. Plus AWS seems to be still the most popular. And yeah, so let's park that, and I'll just show you what I was on about earlier. So yeah, if you've seen my other video, the one about findthatbit.com. Sorry, I was trying to make the. So this is based on a Qdrant tutorial. So Qdrant are the creators of the vector database that I've used to build the findthatbit.com project. As you know, most of the tutorials will use Streamlit, and they'll host the Python code locally just for you to demonstrate it, which is fine. But I wanted to try and just go slightly beyond that, so I gathered my own data, and I also made my own API, hosted it on a Linux VPS server hosted by WebDoc, who I can really recommend. And then I built the JavaScript to fetch the response from the API, or sorry, to pass a query to the API, get a response back, pass the response, and then display it in the web page. Usual stuff. So just for some background on that, the Qdrant tutorial is pretty much here. I've kind of started with the Qdrant tutorial and I've pasted it in here. I just wanted to mention a couple of things really. So there's no point me regurgitating their entire tutorial, but what I would say is the key thing to learn is you're creating iterators to pass in. So when you do your upload collection, there's various different ways to do. You can do you can do upsert. You can do a batch upload. So arguments in iterable over vectors. So payload iterable. See the word iterable. This is the key thing. So you'll notice here the use of map. So what it's doing is it's opening up the this is the example based on the startups.demo file. So let me just show you that. That's just a whole bunch of one line equals one dictionary, and it's not a list. So if we go right across the other side, you see it's expecting the end of file because it's thinking that it should be a standard JSON file because it's called .json. So you've just got a whole list, one Python dictionary, or curly braces with stuff in it, key values per line. This is taking, so you open up the file, line 46. You open up the file, you've got an object there, and then with that object, you are then effectively creating an iterator which will take the first line and load it as JSON. So that's, if I hover over map, it's not showing that very well, but you've got an iterator, and with that iterator, the payload is equal to an iterator. The vectors are already an iterator because you've loaded in a NumPy two-dimensional array. When you run vectors.shape, it will show you the number of rows you've got and effectively the number of columns. That's the model. You can choose a different model. Choose whatever model you see fit from Hugging Face. Make sure when you choose, if you choose a different model, just make sure you get the dimension correct. So yeah, here. That vector params, the size 384, that 384 is specific to the Hugging Face, or the model that I've got from Hugging Face, which is this one, all mini LM. I don't think it's going to give me any hints on that. No. When you're testing, you need to create a collection, but each time you do a test, you can delete the collection. So recreate collection, what that's effectively doing is building a new collection each time you run it. So it's deleting the old collection and then starting a new one. So let's actually do some experiments. It's not experiments, testing should we call it. So on the left, that's running the virtual environment. activate. So this, I'm getting in a bit of a muddle because I don't normally have the font this big. This is obviously just for the purpose of this video. Right, so first thing I need to do is start up Qdrant. So let's go there. Rather than remember the exact syntax, let's just go here. Create a simple neural search service. So if you've not seen my other videos, this is what inspired me for my project, findthatbit.com. Right, here's the Docker. Run Qdrant in Docker. And let's paste that in there. Sudo it's already running. Port is already allocated. That's all right. If you get an error, just check. You can do docker ps. Sorry. Sudo docker ps, and you'll see if you've already got an instance running. So there I've got that running from 5 hours ago. It's now kind of mid-afternoon. I started it up this morning. Right, so across to the other window, and what do we want to do? Right, the first thing I want to do is run Qdrant upsert. So this is going to, effectively, it's going to convert my JSON file, which is based on the startups demo file, which comes from Google. You can see the link up there. Python. I don't know if I have to do 3.10. I will anyway. This will do the code you just saw, and it's going to create a new collection called startups capital X. And it's using TQDM, so you should see a nice progress bar if it works. Yeah, so batches. If you'd like the little progress bar, that's TQDM, which implements that. There you see I put in some code at the very end to list all of the collections. That's the collection I've just created. Okay, so we've created the collection. The next thing we want to do is start up. We want to start up FastAPI. So we need FastAPI because FastAPI takes our query, and then basically it. I'll just show you here. Then it calls neural searcher class, and if I show you, or the search method of the neural searcher class, if I show you neural searcher class, what that's basically doing is it's encoding. So it's encoding your query. So what's happening is your query is getting encoded, and then the similarity search is doing a similarity search on your encoded query against the encoded original data. So you're comparing two encoded things. I still think of it as hashing, so comparing two hashes, but probably because I've been from a network background and a Bitcoin background. Right, so we've encoded our original data. Now we want to start up Python and service. So service.py, which is the file here, which is the FastAPI part. And then we should get the link. Here we go. So now what do I want to do next? If I run a curl command, let me just show you. No, that's not going to display it. If you want to see the output, let me just open this and then we'll see if we can. Yeah, so you'll get detail not found because it just takes you straight to 008,000. You need to just go and put /docs on the end. And then you get the good old FastAPI GUI. So because we only gave it app.get API/search, that's what we've got there. See, it's the same, API/search, API/search. So what I'm going to do, what I've gone in and done is the startups.demo file was really large. It took about 4, because I've only got an old laptop with no, what's it called, CUDA, no GPU or anything. When I coded it, it takes about 15 minutes. So I stripped out a load of the lines. So the startups.demo file was only actually 259. So it's 259 rows, and well, that's like the columns, 384 vectors, because that's what the model needed. So the 384 always needs to match, and you can look that up on Hugging Face when you're choosing your model. So choosing your models is kind of beyond the scope of what I can talk about, but yeah. Models do different things, so you'll get language models, you'll get computer vision models, you'll get sentiment analysis models, you'll get, there's all different models. Right, try it out. So first thing I want to do is put in the string, so I'm going to put in, I know this works because I've already tried this, so. I want to look, so the first thing is the query. The query is going to search based upon semantic search similarity. City is actually a filter, and I'll show you that in a second, because the filter is the traditional way of searching a database. Is just going to, it's going to basically select from vector database where payload city equals London. So if I execute that, and we get some results, let me just make that bigger. So the query was safer, so that's kind of the semantic meaning, and London is the keyword. So if we scroll down, there we go. So the first result, safer, so it's found, that's the meaning, and that's kind of the keyword. So it's filtered on London. So as I scroll down, I should find every result should be London as the city. It's still not very big. Let me zoom in some more. You see London there? In a second, I'll show you the code. So the code, uses a filter and also the search query. I think I've labeled that enough. With Qdrant, if you go to qdrant.tech, documentation, concepts, filtering, you've got various different filters. So first thing you need to do is from Qdrant.client, well, you need to do pip install Qdrant-client first. Then import models. Once you've got models, so I found this to be the best way of doing it. Obviously, they've got two filters there. They've got city and color. Basically, what I did was I copied that. So I copied that And that is what went into my code, and I'll show you where it went. So there's a class here, Neural Searcher, which again Qdrant kind of give you. What I edited was the search method from the Neural Searcher class. By default, you just get self, which is the instance of the class, and then you get text, which is a string. So I added in city as a string, and then city gets passed into a binding. So city of interest is equal to whatever you pass in, and then it's doing the filter where the model has to do the models class match value method, pass in value equals the city of interest. So I'm passing in London, and then London ends up inside here, and then that's what it does the match on. How does London get into there? Well, it gets into there because it's the city argument. So if you remember, so search, then we got Q, which is the query that gets queried by the vector database semantic search. Then we've got city, which is basically the filter. Let me just paste that curl into there as well. Need to open let me go there and get in the model. There we go, there's a third. Yeah, so that curl command, if you just want to do some testing, you just use curl. And that load of text there is basically the same as what you're seeing in this window here. So hopefully that's given you just a little bit of inspiration. You can do filters on your search results. So the vector for search closest vectors, the closest vectors is giving me all of the semantic meaning, and then the filter is just filtering out where the city equals London. So without the filter, you would have got many results. I think I set the filter to be a number as well, so just the top two. So in fact, why did it return 10? I don't know. Answers on a postcard for that, but the code is on GitHub, and I'll give you a link to that. Best thing to do is download it, run it, and then start breaking it and fixing it as usual. So yeah, Hugging Face transformers. Let me just so what we were using in this video was a semantic search. If you go to expert.net, this is kind of some good educational stuff explaining semantic search. Python, there's some examples here. To start off with, they just give you some sentences in a list rather than reading from a file. I've obviously read from a file, that's why I needed to use map so that I could map each row of the file and create an iterator in using JSON loads. embedder. So the embedder is equal to the sentence transformer. So basically you import sentence transformer. You tell it the model. So you always need to tell it the model, because it's the model that does clever stuff, really. Yeah, so what they've done there is very similar to the Qdrant example. The Qdrant example is just really well written, and yeah, you can just copy and paste it and run it and then modify it. It's really, you can't go wrong. So let's just zoom in on that, make that a bit bigger. So with the example on expert.net, they've got some queries. They're embedding the queries. And then obviously they're doing top results equals torch, top K, cosine scores. So you'll see quite frequently there's cosine similarity, a dot product similarity, or a Euclidean distance. That's beyond what I am knowledgeable about. So, but just be aware that there's 3 different types. Cosine does seem to be the one that crops up quite often. So why is there an iterator? Why am I banging on about iterators? Well, the reason is because of memory. So load the vectors into memory. NumPy array works as iterable for itself. So there we go. Since there may be too much data to fit a single computer memory, the function takes an iterator over the data as input. So if you take nothing else from this video, just remember that you can do filters, which is basically the old school traditional type of filter after you've performed a clever semantic search. And yeah, just remember that you need to create an iterator for your payload, and then your vectors are already an iterator because they're already a 2-dimensional array. But your payload, so the vectors is basically the numerical huge bunch of numbers that represent your data. The payload is, if you've tried Pinecone, you'll see it's called meta. And basically that's the other data apart from your corpus. So it's the other data that goes along with it. It's meta. So payload, vectors. So Pinecone call it. Pinecone would call that payload. They would call that meta, and vectors they would call embeddings, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. So yeah, depending on the vendor of your vector database, you may see embeddings and you may also see meta. IDs, normally IDs get created for you, so you don't need to worry about IDs. Yeah, vector IDs will be assigned automatically. Batch size, I've not gone into that yet. I've just left that on the default 256. So hopefully by now you're starting to get the hang of what a collection is. So in Qdrant, a collection is basically, it has a name, and then inside it you've got vectors, payload, IDs, equivalent to Pinecone's meta embeddings indexes. So these 3 things are kind of those vectors, payload, IDs. You'll always have those, and then your collection's got a name. I've also seen something called pods. I don't know about pods. I think this is really, really clear and understandable, which is a bonus. Not everything is in computer world, is it? When I say computer world, I mean software in general. FastAPI, that's really, really basic. It's about, when you run that, by the way, you just need to run, you don't need to do all the main colon app whatever. You just do you just store this. Sorry, you just save this as service.py, and when you run it, you just run it as, there you go, Python service.py. Yeah, and they've got a Discord community. I had an issue last week. I went on Discord, and there was a kind developer who was checking my code. And in the end, we didn't quite get to the bottom of the issue. I think it's because I'd actually deleted something within the collection. So yeah, rather than try to append what was possibly a corrupted collection, I just created a new collection and then imported all the same stuff into my new collection, and that's been fine ever since. The upserts, I'll probably do the upserts in a separate video because you need to do points there. So there's something called points. Upsert. Upload points, add points, upload points. Batch. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Let's try upsert. I had kind of had to get my head around when you would do. So upsert is basically update vectors, delete vectors, set payload. I think I'll quit while I'm ahead, but just be aware that. Oh, let's go to the API reference. Let's go to examples, create a collection. So the API reference is really good as well, by the way. So you've got kill. So if ever you don't want to start up a Python, create a Python file, you can just do, my test underscore collection doesn't exist. Let me just modify that. And let's just put in the name of my collection, which we were working with. Startups, capital X. There you go. So basically that's the, I wonder if I do pipe JQ, does that work? Oh, command not found. Let's do. So I don't know if that'll work or not, but let's try it anyway. If you do pipe JQ, it formats it gives you some nice coloured formatting and indentation on your response. Apologies if you know all this already. I'm just. Did I? Sorry, it's mid-afternoon. I'm getting that kind of tiredness. It's height of summer in the UK here now, and it gets light really early in the morning, and it makes you tired. So if you're noticing the quality of my videos is worse than normal, that's my excuse. There we go. So if you can do a kill command to test, and that's basically kill command to the API. So what that's doing is it's talking to the Qdrant vector database that is running from the Docker container, and then piping the output to JQ, which is giving it some nice indentation and some nice color. And Yeah, there we go. There's the information we created it with. The size 384 because we're using the AL6, whatever it is. Points 259. Where does that 259 come from? Well, that is, if you remember, that comes from here. And 259 is, let me just show you. It should be the number of rows in the original startups demo JSON file. There we go, 259. What I did was I just randomly went down to 259, and then I just, with Vim, I just did D capital G and just deleted everything after that. So nearly up to an hour. This is quite a long video, isn't it? I apologize for that, but if you want to experiment, you can with vector databases. You don't have to sign up for Pinecone and be. I know because I've done it as well. So with Pinecone, you get one. I think you get one free database, and obviously that's quite restrictive. And then you have to start paying. It's not cheap either. I think Pinecone is running on GCP, Google Cloud Platform. Because when you use it, and one of the nuisance or slightly annoying things is you have to actually specify the region. So you have to specify GCP West 4 or West 2. And if you get that wrong, then the code doesn't work. Because it's obviously looking in the different region of the United States of the Google network for the particular VM server, whatever. So the ability to run this locally, I think, is really, really good. And yeah, just a shameless plug at the end for this website, which I have built using most of what I've just shown you. So I got hold of some data, which if you've seen my other videos, particularly the transcript ones, you'll know how I did that. I encoded the data, and then I turned that into an iterable, because that is obviously that's the vectors. So the vectors is a NumPy array already, so it's an iterator. The payload, so the payload was everything else. For that I used map, so I mapped the open file. It was reading, obviously it reads line by line, and then it maps line by line of the file with json.loads. If you remember, where is it? Yeah, this bit here. So line 47. So I had an iterator of the payload, an iterator of the vectors. The IDs get generated automatically. I created a collection. The batch size I left as it was. So all that got upserted into Qdrant. Then I built the FastAPI API, and then from the front end, obviously when I click submit, that then calls some JavaScript function, which then queries the API with whatever I've typed in here. So I'll just do another demo if you've not seen this before. If you've not seen the other videos, then let's see what some Bitcoin experts think of Charlie Munger, shall we? Charlie Munger will go away in due course because no one lives to infinity. He's not popular, and if you've seen my earlier video, you'll probably agree. Charlie Munger has no clue what he's talking about, and if he does, it's because he's a conflicted idiot. Um, yeah. Anyway, I should be cheerful and constructive. So let's just look for something. Actually, let's type in cheerful. It's Michael Saylor's mantra and constructive. There we go. Quite, obviously, if you're a billionaire, then people probably ask you for advice. And his frequent advice, I guess it's easy to be cheerful and constructive when you are a billionaire, but it's chicken and egg, isn't it? Did being cheerful and constructive and that wisdom, did that help him to become a billionaire? I don't know. Better to respond cheerfully and constructively. You may not convert them over, but you convert their followers. Yeah, so if you're dissing someone, you're not only going to annoy that person you're dissing, you're probably going to annoy the people who like the person you're dissing. So yeah, sorry, Charlie Munger fans. Stay cheerful, constructively, cheerfully improving the world. Yeah, so each of these thumbnails you can click on and it will take you to the video, or you got the links on the left hand side. And obviously this is just a chunk of the text. And if you click on the link, it takes you to the correct part of the video where you will hear this text. Yeah. And again, I've used the All Mini LM-L6-V2. If anybody knows about these models and can recommend the better one, or if I've done anything poorly, then let me know. I'm still learning about the sentence transformer and LLMs in general. I guess we all are. Yeah, and if you've got any Satoshis, you want to just scan that QR code and send me a few sats, much appreciated. Or if you want to donate, my other idea is to get the site converted to an app. And I'm not going to even go there. I'm going to try and maintain my focus, so I'm not going to try and start learning how to make Android apps or Apple apps, but I'll happily pay somebody 30 or 40 pounds to create one and publish it to Android Store or Apple Store or whatever they're called. So yeah, if somebody wants to donate some money to get this turned into an app, it would make me happy, and if it might make you happy as well, because I think it's a really useful app. Imagine if you had to watch, because I've now uploaded perhaps 40 videos to this website now. Obviously not the videos, the content or the subtitles of the videos. So if we say there's now the content of 40 videos with the subtitles of 40 videos are now stored in this vector database. Each one of those videos is typically over an hour long. That's why I've added them, because short ones are just, nobody cares about short. So if you want to find some content within a 1 hour long video, how to do it? Probably traditionally you'd have to open up YouTube, change the speed to maybe 1.5 speed, and just kind of guess where you think that. Obviously you can skip through maybe the first 5 minutes of a video. It's just where they do all the introductions. You could probably skip over maybe the past 2 or 3 minutes. You'd probably just put the play thing. You'd probably just skip to the middle, wouldn't you? But one of the videos, I think it's the Lex Fridman one, is 3 hours 59 minutes or something. How on earth would you find within basically a 4 hour video? How would you search that 4 hour video for where Michael Saylor talks about New York real estate? So to be fair, he talks about it quite a lot, so you might get lucky. But in general, now let's look at George Washington. I know he mentions George Washington in one of his talks. yeah, so if you, that Lex Fridman video is 4 hours long, and if you wanted to find out whereabouts in the 4 hour long video they talk about George Washington, you wouldn't find that just by, you're not going to find that just by going on YouTube and clicking in search. That's not going to find you this video. It's going to find you a video about George Washington or some documentary on Discovery or whatever. So yeah, I think that'll do for today. I hope you've enjoyed this kind of talk about Python jobs, AI jobs. We learned that there are increasing, or like 1 or 2 jobs cropping up now for AI lecturers, AI training. Obviously, it's such a new area. There's not, the knowledge needs to, just needs to be put out there, and not many universities or colleges are going to have courses on it even yet, really, are they? I mean, not on the latest kind of. For instance, which universities are really going to have LangChain on their syllabus? Because LangChain's only been out for about 6 months. So last October, when the academic year started in the Northern Hemisphere, LangChain wasn't even a thing. Reminds me of, that just reminds me of one last anecdote before I go. You know, Tiangolo, who created FastAPI, I remember he put something online a while back, and he put up a screenshot of a job advert, and the job advert requested or required somebody with 4 years experience with FastAPI. And at the time when he did the screenshot, he just put up the screenshot and said, 4 years experience with FastAPI. He said, that rules me out. I've only got 2, obviously, because he only created it 2 years ago. Yeah, right. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. I've got terrible, really, I've got very, very poor subscribe ratio on these videos. So if you don't like these videos, well, you wouldn't still be watching. So if you are still watching, it means you do like the videos. And if you do like the videos, then please subscribe, because I think it's something like 1% of my viewers are actually subscribed, which I think is probably about as bad as you could possibly get. So subscribe, just subscribe. And if you've subscribed already, just subscribe some more. And then if you get, next time you watch, double subscribe, triple subscribe, and tell all your friends to subscribe. There we go. Thanks for watching.